Why the mirrors? Some think it was superstition, preventing the dead from seeing their own ghosts.
The most famous stop on this trail of blood is, of course, Wasilla, Iowa, June 10th, 1912. The Moore family and two young guests, Stillinger sisters. 8 people in total, including 6 children. The house was just blocks from the train tracks. The killer entered in the dead of night, and 8 people left bludgeoned in their beds.
Velissa Velisca is the case that finally broke the silence. The brutality was so extreme that it made national headlines, but even then, the authorities were looking for a local face. They put a traveling preacher on trial. They accused a local businessman. They tore the community apart, looking for a motive, not realizing the motive was simply the act itself. The man from the train didn't steal money. He didn't steal jewelry. He left valuables sitting right on the dresser.
Bill James argues that Wasilla was the beginning of the end for the killer's American run. The heat was too much, but where did he come from? James traces the origin back to 1898 in Massachusetts to a man named Paul Mueller.
Paul Mueller was a German immigrant, a farmhand who worked for the Newton family. He had a dispute with them, and shortly after, the family was found slaughtered. Mueller disappeared. For the next 14 years, a man fitting his description, a thick set German with a peculiar gait, was spotted near various crime scenes across the country.
We're talking about Colorado Springs, where the Burnham family was killed in 1911. We're talking about Monmouth, Illinois. We're talking about Paola, Kansas, and in every instance, the house was near the tracks. In every instance, the axe was found from the property. In every instance, the windows were covered.
It's the sheer scale of the injustice that gets to me, AL, because the people couldn't conceive of a serial killer moving by rail. They arrested the wrong people. In several cases, innocent men were sent to prison. In the South, the situation was even more dire. At least 7 black men were lynched for the murders that Bill James is almost certain were committed by Paul Mueller.
He was a parasite of the system. He knew that if he moved fast enough and far enough, the lack of communication between the towns would protect him. He was a stranger that every mother warned their children about, but he was real. He was sitting in the boxcars listening to the rhythm of the rails, planning his next stop.
Let's start at the beginning. 1898, West Brookfield, Massachusetts. The night the Newton family met the man who would become a ghost. The Newton case is a crucial one because it gives us a face. Mueller wasn't a shadow yet. He was a disgruntled employee. When the police arrived at the Newton farm, they found the parents and the daughter killed in their beds. The son, however, had survived just long enough to point the finger.
But by the time they looked for Mueller, he was gone. He didn't have a horse. He didn't have a carriage. He just walked toward the nearest rail line. That was his epiphany. The realization that the world was now connected by steel, and if he could master those rails, he could be anywhere.
For the next 3 years, the trail goes cold, but James argues that's just because we haven't found the records yet. Then, suddenly, families in the South start dying. Axe murders in Florida, in Louisiana. The press at the time called it the Axeman of New Orleans or the Servant Girl Annihilator. But when you look at the proximity to the tracks, the profile shifts.
One of the most heartbreaking stops is in 1911, Colorado Springs, the Burnham family. This one is particularly gruesome because of the shrouding ritual. The killer didn't just cover the faces, he spent time arranging the bodies. It shows a level of psychopathy that goes beyond mere anger. It was a dark art for him.
Then we hit the axe murder summer of 1902. It was a fever pitch. Villisca was just the climax. There were murders in Kansas and Illinois, all within weeks of each other. The rail lines were buzzing with the news, and yet no one thought to check the trains.
Why didn't they? It seems so obvious now.
Because in 1912, the railroad was the equivalent of the internet. It was too big to police. Thousands of men moved on those trains every day, hobos, drifters, workers. To search every boxcar for a thick-set German would have been impossible. He was a needle in a haystack of steel.
It's the hiding in plain sight aspect that really gets you. He wasn't a monster in a cave. He was the guy that brought you coffee before at the station. He was the guy who helped you load a crate of apples. And then at 2 a.m., he was the guy standing over your bed with your own axe.